The sharp click-clack of her heels against the marble floor echoed through the opulent hall, slicing through the chatter like a blade. She walked tall, clutching her purse like a shield, heart pounding but head held high. This wasn't just any family reunion, it was a battlefield dressed in fine linens and crystal chandeliers. Gold light spilled from above, casting an almost heavenly glow over white-clothed tables adorned with fresh roses and champagne flutes. But beneath the polished surface, tension simmered. Polite smiles masked old wounds. Fake laughter hid real disdain. She had barely crossed the threshold when Aunt Denise spotted her. "Oh, look who finally decided to show up," Denise drawled, lips curling into that familiar smirk, the one she used to slice people open without lifting a finger. Her eyes swept over her like she was inspecting a knockoff at a luxury boutique. "Although, you're not even in the family photo." A hush fell. Not total silence, just enough for everyone to hear. "I guess you don't really belong here." The words dripped with mock pity, but Ava didn't flinch. Years ago, she might have laughed it off or stammered an excuse. "Not tonight, funny," Ava said, lightly, though her pulse thundered in her ears. "You still manage to find me in every room." Denise's smirk widened, as if she'd won something. "Sweetheart, the photographer probably doesn't even know you're related to us. It's better this way. Less awkward for everyone." Then, from nearby, a voice cut through the tension. "Ma'am," the photographer said, adjusting his lens. "She's the one paying for this entire event." Silence. Glasses froze mid-air. Conversation stopped. Denise's smile cracked like porcelain hitting stone. Ava said nothing. She didn't have to. The message was clear, and this was only the beginning. As the stunned crowd shuffled into place for the group photo, Ava took her spot front and center, directly beneath the ornate floral centerpiece that likely cost more than most people made in a month. Denise lingered at the edge, her strained smile barely holding on. "Oh, you want to be in the middle?" she asked sweetly. "I paid for the middle," Ava replied, calm as silk, sharp as steel. The camera flashed, freezing them all in time, a perfect portrait of a fractured family, unaware their world was about to shift. During dinner, whispers spread like wildfire. Who is Ava now? Where did she get the money? Why would she spend it on them? Uncle Gerald tried to corner her with a snide comment. She deflected with grace. Denise couldn't resist a jab about class. Ava parried with precision. By dessert, the air was thick with unease. Every glance held suspicion. Every sip of wine tasted like calculation. Then Ava stood. "I wanted to thank you all for being here tonight," she began, voice warm, eyes cold. "Family is complicated. Some of us only see each other at events like this, and some of us," she paused, letting the silence stretch, "only acknowledge each other when there's an audience." The room went still. "I let my head stay down for years because I thought avoiding conflict would keep the peace. But silence doesn't protect you. It makes you invisible. And invisible people are easy to dismiss." Denise's fork clinked against her plate. "Well, I'm sure we're all grateful." "I'm sure you are," Ava replied softly, locking eyes with her across the table. A few gasps escaped. The photographer snapped the moment, the tension, the defiance, the quiet revolution unfolding before him. Then Ava dropped the final bomb. "Since we're all here, I might as well mention this venue. It's mine now. Bought it 3 months ago." She let her gaze sweep the stunned faces. "Technically, you're all my guests." She raised her glass slightly. "Shall we get another round of photos? I think this time, everyone will want to make sure I'm in the middle." Denise sat frozen, jaw clenched, eyes burning. "But Ava?" She sat back, sipped her wine, and smiled. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a new chapter, where she wouldn't just belong, she'd own it. The morning after, text messages started flooding in at 7 a.m. "Ava, we need to talk. Can we meet for coffee? I think there are some things we should discuss. Family dinner this weekend? Your choice of restaurant." Even Denise sent a message. "Perhaps we misjudged the situation. Let's clear the air." Ava read each one with a cold smile, then deleted them without responding. The power wasn't in the explanation, it was in the mystery. Let them wonder. Let them scramble to rewrite their narratives now that the rules had changed, she thought. Back to all those years of being overlooked, dismissed, talked about behind her back. The borrowed money never repaid. The invitations that arrived late. The way conversations would stop when she entered a room, then resume in hushed tones once she moved away. For so long, she'd believed their version of her story, that she was the outsider, the quiet one, the one who didn't quite fit. But she'd been writing her own story in secret, building her empire while they gossiped about her at their dinner parties. The real estate deal had been the final piece of the puzzle. When she'd bought the venue, the same place where they'd held every major family gathering for the past decade, she'd known exactly what she was doing. Not for the money, not for the investment, but for the moment when she could look Denise in the eye and say, "You're all my guests." Her phone buzzed again. This time it was her assistant. "Good morning, Ava. The contracts for the new properties are ready for your review. The board meeting is scheduled for Thursday, and the charity gala invitations have started arriving. Should I begin planning your acceptance speeches?" Ava smiled. "Yes to all of it. And cancel my lunch with the Hendersons. I'm not interested in their investment proposal anymore." She stood and walked to her floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out over the city skyline. Somewhere down there, her former family was probably sitting around their kitchen tables, trying to figure out how to fix things, how to get back into her good graces. They still didn't understand. There was no getting back into her good graces because she'd never needed their approval in the first place. The reunion had been her declaration of independence, her way of showing them that the girl they used to dismiss was now the woman who could make or break their social calendar. But more than that, it was her way of proving to herself that she'd grown beyond their petty judgments and small-minded cruelty. Her phone buzzed again. A news alert. Local businesswoman Ava Richardson named to Forbes 30 Under 30 list. Real estate mogul disrupts traditional market with innovative approach. She chuckled. They'd find out soon enough that the local businesswoman they used to mock was now worth more than all of their inheritances combined. That the quiet one had been quietly building an empire while they worried about who was dating whom and whose yacht was bigger. But she wouldn't gloat. She wouldn't call them to rub it in their faces. The best revenge was living well, and she intended to live very, very well indeed. Her assistant called through the intercom. "Ava, your meeting with the architect is here, and there's a delivery." At the front desk seems to be from a florist. Ava frowned. She wasn't expecting flowers. She walked to the lobby, curious, and found an enormous bouquet of white roses with a simple card attached. "Just wanted you to know I'm proud of you. You handled yourself with grace and strength. Love always, Mom." Ava's eyes welled up. Her mother had been her biggest supporter, the one person who'd never doubted her potential even when everyone else did. She'd passed away 2 years ago, never getting to see the full extent of what Ava had built. But somehow, Ava felt like she was watching from somewhere above, smiling at the scene from the reunion. She carried the flowers back to her office, placing them prominently on her desk where she could see them throughout the day. Then she turned to her assistant. "Cancel my afternoon meetings. I'm taking a personal day." "Everything okay, Ava?" "Everything is perfect," she replied, settling into her chair and pulling up her email. "I'm finally exactly where I belong." As she began responding to congratulatory messages from business associates and potential partners, Ava couldn't help but think about Denise's face when she'd announced the venue purchase. The shock, the disbelief, the dawning realization that the power dynamics had shifted permanently. They'd spent years trying to make her feel small and significant, like she didn't matter. But she'd spent those same years proving them wrong, one deal at a time, one success at a time, one carefully laid plan at a time. The reunion had been the culmination of all that work, the moment when she could finally step out of the shadows and into the light, not asking for their acceptance, but demanding their respect. And she'd gotten it, not through begging or pleading, not through trying to fit into their outdated definitions of worth, but through simply being herself and refusing to apologize for her success. Her phone buzzed with another text, this one from her younger cousin Emily, the same girl who'd asked why she'd spend so much money on people who didn't appreciate her. "Hey, Ava, I know we don't talk much, but I saw the news about your Forbes listing. That's incredible. Maybe we could grab coffee sometime? I'd love to hear about your journey." Ava stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back, "I'd like that. How about tomorrow? My treat." Because that was the thing about power when you had it. You could choose to be generous. You could choose to forgive. You could choose to extend olive branches to those who'd once tried to cut you down. But you didn't have to, and that was the most beautiful part of all. She looked out at the city again, watching the morning traffic flow like rivers of possibility. Somewhere out there, her former family was probably still trying to figure out how to navigate this new reality, how to interact with the woman they'd underestimated for so long. Let them figure it out. She had a company to run. deals to make, and a future to build. The girl who'd walked into that reunion hall 2 years ago, head down and shoulders hunched, was gone forever. In her place sat a woman who knew her worth, commanded respect, and never, ever apologized for taking up space. And that, Ava thought with a satisfied smile, was just the beginning.